Super dope. Super dope. And you all have combined forces to write a dope book called Stacked. Let's talk about the subtitle though. The Super Serious Guide to Modern Money Management. Now, me knowing y'all like I do, I'm curious about the super serious part. I know it's there for a reason. I know the two authors. So I want to let y'all unpack. Why is this the super serious guide to modern, not ancient, but modern money management? Break all this down, please.
So I feel like what happened was our publisher wanted a subtitle, and I'd originally said something like "Your Funny Guide to Modern Money Management." And Joe and I both feel like,
and yeah, we revolted on that one.
Yeah, we're like, if you have to say that it's funny, then it's not, you know. And so we wanted to go in the opposite direction and say, like, if we say that it's super serious, then you know that it's not. You know, like you can hear kind of the scare quotes around it when like the super serious guide. And so that was something where we really wanted to make it clear just from the title, and already the title Stacked, that was our agent's suggestion, and we really loved that. We loved the suggestion. She got our tone exactly right. My favorite moment when it came to the title was I was asking my sister for some help with something on my website. She's really good at design and that sort of thing. And so including the title as we're gearing up for the launch. And so my sister says to me as we're doing this, she's like, you know that stacked also means big boobs, right? I was like, yeah, that's yeah.
It's all in there. Okay, got it.
It's all in there.
But there is a serious reason why we wanted to lighten the mood, because like you know, I've interviewed lots and lots of people in the money space, and and I think an area where you and I cross paths a lot is that, you know, because you work with so many people that are new to the money game, that we got to lighten it up, because if money is so serious that it drives people away, it makes people not plan. More people plan a vacation than plan their retirement. People spend way more time planning what they're going to do next weekend than planning these little money moves. And yet, when we think about like exercise as an example, exercise, you got to keep exercising all the time to see results. And as we all know, if you just spend 30 minutes one time working on your money, you will have lasting results for a long period of time. So it's not about building a muscle in the same way that a good diet does or healthcare does. We just want people to do one thing at first, take that first step. There was a study out there called by a group called Nonfiction, which I absolutely love. It's called The Secret Financial Lives of Americans. And it talks about how 150 million people in the United States report that they've cried about their money. They've cried. And you'd think that that's just people who are living paycheck to paycheck, like I was early on, really struggling with money. And I remember crying when I ran out of gas one day. I had no idea how I was going to get home because I had no credit. I borrowed the max money I could borrow from family. I was screwed. I had no resources. But it wasn't just that. Of people making over $250,000 a year, nearly half of those people report that they cry about their money. So I think it's the response of, on one hand, you feel like if I had more money and I had some way to get to my next paycheck, I can make this work. But for people that have money and have means, I think they're crying about the fact that their money isn't matching their values and they don't have those in alignment. So we thought that the best way to achieve our mission, which was to kind of spread the good word of solid, sound financial management, was to lighten the mood as much as we possibly could.
Yeah, and you did well. So let's talk about this, because it's a super serious guy, but this is a super serious topic because, as you alluded to, even from that research, our feelings, how we feel going into each and every day can be correlated to our financial situation. When we feel comfortable with the amount of money in our bank accounts, we move and operate differently. When we feel as though we are cutting things close financially, it's stressful all day. You're constantly keeping your eye on what you're about to buy. Can I buy this? Can I afford that? Is my car going to be overcharged? So it's important that we take this serious. So as people listening are trying to delve to get their money managed better, one of the first things that you all talk about in the book is the importance of setting goals, which to some may be something that they've heard before. But as you all talk about, just because you've heard a goal or attempted to go doesn't mean that you are doing it correctly. And it's important that you do certain things with your goals in order to make them higher or a higher likelihood of actually accomplishing those goals. So can you guys kind of break down why this is something we should do up front and some of the things we should keep in mind why we try to do this step?
Yeah, Joe actually introduced me to the idea of what he calls timelining your goals. I am a great goal setter. I have like my whole life, I've got, journals from, childhood. Like my goal this year is to do this, but that would be all I did with it. So as a freelancer, every year I'd set myself an income goal, and that would look real pretty in my journal. And then in November, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to meet it because I hadn't done anything to kind of give myself a timeline for meeting those goals. Excuse me. So Joe has created this idea of putting your goals on a timeline so that you can see how they interact with each other, and you can get a sense of like how that goal would break down. So what I like about what Joe does, and he used to do this as a financial planner, and we do this in the book, is you actually draw a little stick figure of yourself, or if you're artistically inclined, you can draw yourself a little bit more elaborately than as a stick figure, and draw a line, and so that represents your life, and so you put on that line what your goals are. So like, let's say one of your goals is you want to retire at 55, so you put that on there. And then another goal is you want to pay for your children's college education. You put that on there. Another goal is that you want to be able to, pay for your mother's house or something like that, and you put that on there. And so by putting it on this timeline, you can see, for one thing, how long you have. So, hey, I want to retire at 55. Hey, that's 7 years from now. All right. How much money do I have? Can I get there? What do I need to save per month to be able to get there? What kind of return will I need to get in order for me to have enough money to feel comfortable retiring at 55? And so you're asking yourself all of these questions that are really, really helpful and that allow you to be proactive about the goal instead of, saying like, that looks pretty, like I used to do. The other benefit of it is that you can see how these goals interact with each other. So if you're saying like, I want to be able to pay for my kids' college education, and you're looking at it going like, oh, retiring at 55, that's going to be like the second year of my youngest child's college education. Am I going to be able to afford both? And so then you can start making asking yourself the questions like, well, what's more important to me, retiring at that time or paying for college? So if it's retiring at that time, what can we do to help make sure my kid can afford college and is not going to be saddled with debt? What could we do to help with scholarships, or what level of loans am I willing to have my kid take on? All of those sorts of questions. And so you end up talking about values in a way that you don't when you just say, I want to retire at 55, I want to pay for my kids' college, without putting it on a timeline.
Yeah, I love that, because I think that's where the rubber meets the road in your financial plan is, what do I truly value? I can't do it all, but I can do some of it. So what's the most important stuff? And by putting it out there, that's one win. I think a couple other side wins that are absolutely huge. One of them is that you are able to engage your unconscious brain. We are visual creatures. And when we write our goals down, that's fine. But for most of us, if we can see them in relation to each other, our subconscious brain starts working on the fact of, okay, wow, I'm not just looking at that next thing, but I'm looking at all these things. And if by the way, if we're left to our own devices, what do? We save for just the next thing in line. And then we save for the next thing, and then we save for the next thing, and then we save for the next thing. And I'll give you a good example. I've heard 100 times, and I'm sure you have too, people that say, I will begin investing once I get my emergency fund done, right? I get my debt paid, I get my emergency fund done. Well, we know that when it comes to investing, beating inflation is hugely important, and doubling your money, getting that compounding interest is so important. So most experts will say, yeah, start your emergency fund and get that going. But once you get, maybe $1,000, $2,000 there, it's time to start putting a little bit of money aside. And especially if you've got a match in your 401k, make sure you get that free money so that you can do all these things. But the great thing about that is then I'm saving for these long-term goals. Well, I'm not even saving for it. My money's saving for it. And I'm as lazy as the next person. Like if my money can do the heavy lifting and I don't have to, that's something that I want. So by putting them all out against each other, then we see that relation. I'll tell you, there's one more thing, and it's this. A lot of people freak out. I think freak out's the right term. A lot of people freak out about all the different investment options that are out there, right? We get FOMO. We're hearing about NFTs. We're hearing about crypto. We're hearing about all these people making tons of money. Like, what's the right thing for me to do with my money? If you forget all the great opportunities and instead you begin with the goal and you work backward, you'll have this really easy equation. I need to save X amount of money and get this rate of return to equal that goal. And once I know what that return is, what that target is, then I take that whole field of investments and I'm able to narrow it down to just the few things that actually help me reach that goal. And now instead of learning a little bit about a bunch of different things that all gets jumbled up in your brain, I can go really deep on just a few types of investments that historically got me there. So beginning with that goal in mind makes investing so much easier.
Yeah, that's great advice.